Hello today. My name is Luis with A.C.F. Home Inspections. Most people call me Louis. It's easier to remember. Uh, Today we're going to talk about three basic items in home inspections. Number one would be selecting a home inspector. Number two would be checking out the house that you're planning to buy or look at or put an offer on. And then number three is home maintenance. The three basic things that the homeowner is going to do is you're purchasing. So we'll get right into it and we'll give you a bunch of information that hopefully will be helpful. On the screen there, you see my company name, A.C.F. Home Inspection. There's our number. We're a member of Internachi, as it shows there. Most of the time when we're face to face, I'll ask everyone if they know who this gentleman is. Uh, Most people say it's Mr. Clean. No, it's not Mr. Clean. That's Mike Holmes. They had a TV show, or they had several TV shows about home inspections on HGTV. Uh, the issue I ran into with that is a lot of people watch TV and they'll see those shows and they have the belief that that's what the home inspector does. And basically, that's not the real case, a real scenario in a home inspection. Home inspectors have rules, regulations, and standards that they have to follow. On TV, most of the time, what they would be doing would be inspecting a home for someone who already owns it. And some of the newer shows, they're inspecting homes, but they're not showing the full inspection and how it's done. So it's a little misleading, and they do things on some of the shows that a home inspector is not allowed to do uh, due to the standards, state laws and regulations. So just wanted to put that out there so everyone's aware. If you watch these shows, those are not the type of inspections that uh, you would be getting. You want to read the inspector's standards of practice, and that will tell you exactly what an inspector's going to do at a home inspection. All right, so we're going to talk about selecting a home inspector. When selecting a home inspector, it's important that you make sure that you check that they're licensed. In the state of Florida, we're required to be licensed. You can go to myfloridalicense.com right here. Uh, in there, you'll find any of the professionals who are licensed in the state of Florida, such as contractors, home inspectors, I believe mortgage brokers, real estate agents, and so on. So if they're licensed in the state of Florida, they will be there. If they're not, it may be a local license, so they're not state licensed. The only two that you may not find there that you may use in the home purchasing process would be the termite inspector. They're governed under Department of Agriculture, and if you're going to do a radon test, they're governed under Department of Health. So you'll have to go to those sites there to make sure they're licensed. But either way, you should be able to ask for their license. They should be able to produce a copy of their license showing that it's valid and what their license number is. When you're doing a home inspection, most uh, down payment assistance programs will require that the home inspector is a member of a national association. So you may want to check that also. In a way, that's a good thing. That means that the inspector had to take the course and the test to be certified through a national association and then take the state test in order to be licensed through the state. So they have a little more stringent training that they have to go through in testing. I am a member of Internachi. You can go to that website there. They have plenty of information. Many times your realtor will have a list of home inspectors that they work with, but if you're not comfortable with that, you can do your own search for a home inspector. You can go to Nachi if you want to use a Nachi member. You can type in, find an inspector, type in the zip code, and it'll give you a list of inspectors there. Or you can search for just about any inspector in there, but you probably want to keep someone within your area. So it's a good resource if you don't have a resource on finding a home inspector. You want to read what's known as the standards of practice, because remember what I mentioned before, we have rules and regulations that we have to follow in state laws. So the standards of practice here, what they do is they give you a clear overview of what the inspector is required to do and not required to do. So that way, we don't want to get in trouble as home inspectors and do certain things that cause damage to the property or upset the sellers, which can be easy to do sometimes. So you want to make sure you read that so you know what the inspector is required to do and not required to do. Uh, ask your home inspector for their website. That's my website there, acfhomeinspections.com. We have tons of information there. Uh, you can get. So, like I said, check out their website. Ask for a sample report. This is very important in my view. Many times, if you go online to shop for something or you go somewhere to purchase something, you actually want to see what it is that you're purchasing. So, without looking at a sample report, you would have no idea what you're going to get. There's many different reporting systems out there. There's some that are just narrative where they type what the problem is. There's others that have the narrative telling you what's wrong and they add a picture. Uh, and then the best one, in my view, would be the one where you have the narrative telling you what's wrong, a picture, and a video in the report. So that way the inspector can explain what they're seeing at the time of the inspection, and you actually have an actual visual of what's happening there. So make sure you check out that sample report. You want to ask your home inspector for a copy of their license. They should show you a copy. I believe we put ours in our emails, so that way you know who's coming to your inspection. Usually it's our business card and so on. So this is what the license looks like. It'll say DBPR on top. And this one's expired because I haven't updated anything in this PowerPoint, but this is basically what it looks like. You want to make sure you check out, make sure that they are licensed. You want to ask your home inspector what other services can they perform. Some inspectors have tons of training, but they only like doing home inspections. There's many other reports that can be done for insurance and things like that. uh, when I first started back in 2001, I used to actually bring a pest control company with me to the inspection so they could do your WDO or termite inspection. After a while, I found a company that would hire me as an employee. So I worked for a company named DL as a pest control uh, inspector or WDO inspector. So we're able to do that under the umbrella of DL Pest Control at the same time. So whichever way it works, whether the inspector works for a company, they bring a company along, or they own a pest control company, it's great because you can get everything done at once. If you want to know that your home inspector is experience, hire a certified master inspector. That means that that inspector has achieved at least 1,000 inspections. Usually by then, 1,000 inspections is a lot to do. So that means that the person has some experience and they're able to perform and supply a good professional home inspection to you as a home buyer. Uh, ask them what kind of tools do they use because that's important. Uh, the tools have gotten a little cheaper. They were very expensive when I started. That infrared camera that you see in the picture here, this thing was about $2,000 and up just to get one. Nowadays they're about 800 to 1,000. So I don't believe there should be any home inspector out there without one. It's a great tool. Uh, Me and my other inspectors, we use our infrared camera at every inspection that we go to. So you want to make sure that you embed this in your head that the inspector should have an infrared camera and should use it at the time of the inspection. Okay, we use it to check the AC temperatures, the appliances, the water temperatures. If there's any stains in the home, we can verify if there's any moisture at the time of the inspection. We also include those pictures in our reports. That's why you want to check out that report from your home inspector to make sure what they're putting in there, because everything that we uncover, electrical panels, uh, we take the pictures that we have the cover off, what kind of wiring you have inside, your appliances, the labels, anything that's readable, anything that we open up or we look at, we'll have a picture of in our report, just so that in case you're unable to be at the inspection, which we do not recommend. We recommend you go to your inspections so that way if you have any questions for the inspector, you're able to ask those questions and the inspector can walk you through the items that they find. But if you're unable to be there, our reports have plenty of pictures and videos. That way you can tell that the inspector checked the things that they needed to. Uh, and it's a good tool to have when you have that report. You can go through it, keep it, and you'll know where everything is at and what's in the home. So ask the inspector, like I said before, what they are trained and licensed to perform, all basic things. Most of them only want to do home inspections. Some only want to do wind mitigation to 4 points. Uh, so, different people will do different things. We try to perform all of them. Uh, just because we're already there, may as well do everything. So you want to make sure that they can do the home inspection. That's basically what most inspectors want to do. I worked with an inspector before. That inspector only wanted to do wind mitigation to 4 points. That's their livelihood. That's what they like to do. So, but they are home inspectors. They can perform all of them. So make sure they can do the home inspection. If they're licensed, they can perform the home inspection. Then, of course, the WDO inspection. Like I said before, are they working as an employee of a company? Do they bring a pest control company along, or do they own a pest control company? There are some out there who own their own pest control company, and it's the same name as the inspection company. And, that's great. I decided to be an employee. But either way, you want to make sure you get that protection. And if you're getting a loan, more than likely you're going to need that WDO report. So you want to make sure you ask these questions. What reports is it that you're going to need when you're doing a home inspection? So your realtor can guide you through that, and so can your mortgage broker. So you want to put your team together, make sure that they're guiding you in the right direction to get the things that you need, not just buy everything. So there's a WDO. Wind mitigation, we'll touch on in a little bit. They're for insurance. We have 4-point inspections. That's for insurance. These are all separate reports. That's why we put them on there. They're not included in the home inspection. Then mold evaluations. Is your home inspector certified mold? Uh, I'm certified mold. My other inspector certified mold. My other inspector, who's no longer with us right now, was also certified mold. So, just having the education, knowing where mold can grow and knowing what it looks like always helps, even though we're not doing a mold inspection because that's beyond the standards. Um, we can at least, if we find it, we can make a comment on it and let you know that it should be, further evaluated and checked out. We can do air sampling, uh, but it is an additional cost. They're very expensive these days. But if we see anything, we can at least mention that there's uh, an issue present. Okay, so I'm going to touch on state law. So what happens here is a lot of times we want to save money. And I don't believe saving money on a home inspection and hiring what I refer to as Cheap Charlie is not a good idea because Cheap Charlie is going to do the minimum. That's what you're paying them for. You can't beat them up for that. You've hired the minimum. None against McDonald's, but you went and got a McDonald's hamburger. Okay, so it's not like a Five Guys or let's see who does a good one. I think Outback has a really good one. I've actually gone to Cooper's Hawk. They have a great hamburger. So, but you pay more. So it all depends what it is that you're looking for. So the cheaper inspector is going to do exactly what the state law requires and what the standards, the minimum is required in the standards. So I'm not beating them up on that. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do and what they're being paid to do. Okay, so we're going to touch on this because this is state law, as we can see at the bottom. The inspector is not required uh, we'll just go to the red ones, insert any tool, probe, or device into any electrical component. So in that essence, how would I check an outlet? Because you need to insert a tool, probe, or device into an electrical component. An outlet is an electrical component. So by state law, technically, I'm not required to do anything but look at that outlet. If it's not cracked or broken or missing the cover, it's good. I know it's a little shocking, but that's technically what that law says, because it is a tool that we use. We use an outlet tester to test the outlets. And I train all my guys to test both the top and the bottom of the outlet, not just uh, half an outlet here, maybe one over there. I actually was called out to an inspection because uh, the realtor was concerned about the previous inspector. Supposedly, the inspector was there 45 minutes. I went to the same house to inspect it. I was there almost 3 hours. So they hired Cheap Charlie, and that's exactly what they got. Luckily, the realtor is an experienced realtor. He's been in business for a long time, was concerned, and contacted us to go out there and do a more thorough inspection. We were more costly than the other guy. I don't think it was by much. They didn't tell me the price, but uh, if you get what you pay for. All right, so we'll move on here back to the state law, and we'll go to the areas in red. They're telling you that the home inspection based on visual observation and apparent condition of the structure and components. So it's a visual inspection. By state law, they're telling you that. Then we'll jump down here. Uh, Using normal operating controls and opening readily operable access panels. From here to here is the part that confuses me a little bit. I guess it depends on the wording, because we'll go right to it. We'll jump to number 20 here. Readily accessible to the state, and by state law means it's a visual inspection without requiring dismantling. And if we go to number 11, they describe dismantle to you as to take apart and remove any component. So I have an electrical panel. I have a cover on it. It has 4 or 6 screws. By state law, what I'm reading here would mean uh, I don't have to take that cover off, because that would be to take apart or remove any component. So the cover is a component of the electrical panel. So once again, uh, the inspector doesn't have to take the cover off. So if you're paying them to do the minimum, they're going to do the minimum 99% of the time. Uh, so you just want to be sure of that. That's why I say look at their sample report. If they don't have the pictures of the cover off on the electrical panel, more than likely they may not take them off. Or when you call them, it's like an interview. Ask them, do you take the covers off? Do you take pictures of the electrical panels and include them? And things like that. So that way you feel comfortable that they're uh, doing the best job for you. Okay, this one here, I don't know how they came up with this one. The inspector is not required to determine heat supply adequacy or determine cooling supply adequacy. So what's another word for adequacy? Adequate, sufficient, proper, enough, could be any of those. So if the system turns on, technically the HVAC system or heating system is functional. That's why we use our infrared camera. We take the temperatures so that way we can tell and put into the report and show that it is functioning, it is cooling. And if we can test the heat, condition the right, we will test the heat and put those uh, pictures of the infrared camera in there. Okay, so now it gets confusing. I talked about a couple of different uh, types of inspections. So we're going to touch on them here. The basic one is the home inspection. That's the one that you need to find out the condition of the home. Second one is the termite inspection. The termite inspection basically is for the lender. But remember, the home inspector is not required to mention WDO or termite damage. So you want to make sure you get a termite inspection if you want to know if there's anything going on in the house in reference to WDO or termites. And your lender probably needs that one, so you want to make sure you ask your lender and your realtor if you need that. Mold inspections. It's not a necessity, but if you have health issues, children have health issues, if you believe there's something going on in the house, I would recommend that you get air sampling. If you don't really find anything, uh, it's fine. We have mold everywhere. The only place it really becomes a main issue is when it's enclosed in a house or in a building or structure. Wind mitigation. I said before, this is for the insurance company. So now we're getting your third person in there. You have your realtor, you have your mortgage broker, now you have your insurance agent. So when you speak to your insurance agent, you should find one as you're going through the process. Don't wait till you find a house and then try to find an insurance agent. Line them all up. Now your insurance agent is the person you want to ask, am I going to need a wind mitigation? Will it benefit me? Will it give you a discount on your insurance? They'll be able to guide you a little more uh, from there, whether you need it or not. Then you have the 4 point. Normally, a house that was 30 years or older, the insurance company wants to see a 4 point. They want to know the condition of the roof, what type of plumbing you have, your electrical system, and your HVAC system. If any of them have problems, of course, it's like life insurance or health insurance. If you have issues, they actually charge you more. So once again, you get with your insurance agent. They'll look at the information on the house. House is 3 years old. They'll probably say you don't need it. Your house is 25 years old. They say the company that I work with will more than likely uh, need you to have that report. Septic systems. If you're purchasing a house that has a septic system, which is your sewage for the home, you want to make sure you get a company out there to uh, check it. The inspector is not required to check that. It's a tank that's buried underground. Uh, so that's a different inspection. The way you can tell if you're on a septic system, number one, you can ask your real estate agent. They should be able to find out that information. Uh, if you're at the home, if you have a hump in the yard somewhere, if there's no manholes down the street or at the intersections, you might be on a septic system. And the best way to find out is ask the seller or look at the water bill. If the water bill does not have a wastewater charge, more than likely you're on a septic system. Pools. We don't do pool inspections. If your home inspector is charging you to do a pool inspection, uh, they have to get into the pool. So I've taken the certification for pool inspections. Uh, Normally, a pool inspection will take about an hour. We don't do pool inspections, but we'll look at the uh, components on the surface. We don't get into water. There is a company out there that does a great pool inspection. I think it's Red Rhino. So if you have a pool, I recommend you get a real professional pool company or pool inspector to come out and check the pool. Excuse me. New construction. This one's confusing for a lot of people. Just because it's new doesn't mean it doesn't have issues. Uh, the builder will tell you that the house is inspected, and yes, it's inspected by the county to make sure it meets code and what's on the blueprints. So the county comes in, they look at the blueprints, and they make sure that everything that's supposed to be there is there and located more or less where it's supposed to be. I actually did a pre-drywall inspection on new construction, and I found two of the straps that hold the roof down. One was missing or was not secured, and I found an outlet that was missing. So on the blueprints, it showed an outlet, uh, but the outlet was not present at the home. So I made note of it and we sent out the report. Now remember, that's new construction. Once the house is built, we don't know what was supposed to be there, what wasn't supposed to be there. By then it's too late. We can only check what is currently there when we're inspecting the home. Don't forget, get an inspection, even if it's new construction. Okay, now we're going to go through and show you how to look at a house because a lot of times um, we make the mistake and we don't check the house out. We go walk in the front door and we look at a couple of things and then we leave. We really never check it out. You're the front line, so you want to look at the home closely. You don't want to pay a home inspector to go do an inspection uh, and you didn't see a bunch of things because you didn't bother looking. You're throwing your money away more or less. When you go buy a car, you check it out, you get in it, you test drive, you look at the trunk, check out the tires, see if the lights work. Same thing in the house. You want to do that. So you want to check the big major items, especially in a retail cell where it's an older home. You want to check the roof. You want to look for any missing shingles, lifted shingles, any patch repairs, any discoloration, and things like that. You want to walk around the outside, look at the walls, windows, and doors. See if you have any broken doors, rotted doors, rusted doors, things like that. Check to make sure your AC system is there, the exterior and interior. There's a big metal uh, box outside with a fan on top. It's either on the left side, the right side, rear yard. If it's out front, they're probably stealing it. I've only had one or two houses in the see, I started in '01, so I'm at 22, almost 23 years doing this. That's out front. So look around, look for anything out of the ordinary. So that way you'll have an idea what's going on with the home. Okay, now we're going to walk inside. When you walk inside, what do you want to look for? You want to look up at the ceilings. You want to look for any damage, any stains, any signs of suspect mold. If anything is growing on the surface, it's green or black and it's fuzzy, usually that would be the signs of mold. Check inside the closets behind the doors. The door may be damaged on the back side. It may be damage to the wall behind the door. But that's what we do when we're inspecting a home. Check underneath the sinks. Look for stains, damage to the cabinets. Look for signs of suspect mold. Uh, any signs that there were any leaks. So do that all the bathrooms, the kitchen sink, any cabinet that you find, just open it up, take a look at it. So you make sure the doors don't fall off and things like that. Check for damage, broken windows, and doors from inside. You're purchasing the home. Open the blinds, look at the windows, open all the doors, make sure that they work. So that way you've done, a thorough walkthrough, and then your home inspector will come in and they'll use all their tools and knowledge, and they'll find all the things that could possibly be wrong with the home. All righty, you did your home inspection. The inspector sent you your report. What's the most important thing you should do? Read the reports. A lot of times I get phone calls and people who are upset because they purchased the home and they didn't fully read the report. Then I have to go back and I feel bad because I'm going back and I'm like, okay, it's on page 3, number 6. There's a comment, there's a picture, there's a video. I did everything I could to educate you on what's wrong with the home, and you did not read it. So read your reports. If you have any questions on anything in the report, contact your home inspector before you make that purchase. Talk to your real estate agent. So that way you're sure that you're uh, moving on with a good house and a good purchase. Alrighty, so we'll move on here. We're going to get a couple of pictures just to make it fun because I know this can get boring just sitting there. Pools. All I can tell you about that pool is green. So the pool can't be checked. You should not have the motor running when the pool is septic like this. The appraiser may flag this on their report. They want to see the pool is in working functional condition. So the water should be in a condition where you can jump in and not worry about getting sick, having to, if you get any water in your mouth, you don't have to take any Pepto-Bismol and stuff like that or be rushed to the hospital. So the pool should be in good working order. It should not be septic, or the water should not be green like this. Usually when we're face to face, I always ask, does anyone see anything wrong with this house? Well, we have a tarp on the roof. It doesn't mean the house can't be sold. You want to speak to your realtor. Do they have a concession in there at closing that they'll fix the roof? A lot of times that can be accepted if they're going to fix the roof at closing. So make sure you talk to your realtor there before you hire your home inspector, because you can already see there's a tarp. What's your home inspector going to do? He's going to tell you there's a tarp on the roof, and now you need a roofer to inspect it and see the amount of damage or what needs to be done to repair it. So these are things we're looking for. Here we have damage. Here we have damage. We have some damage here. We have a patch repair here. And what's wrong with this patch repair? We believe it's unprofessional. They did not line the shingles up. So the person was either in a hurry or maybe was not a licensed professional who put these shingles in. So these are things that you're looking for. Walk in, when you look up, if you see stains, every home inspector is going to tell you that there's a moisture stain on the ceiling that should be further evaluated. And if you recall and remember this, what I mentioned to you, what tools should the home inspector always have? And I hope you embedded it in your brain, is an infrared camera. And this is why. Because now I get my infrared camera and I look at the stains and we see that there's active moisture there. So these areas over here are dry, but we have active moisture here, active moisture here. So now we put this in our report, let you know that there's something going on, needs to be further evaluated. Where's this moisture coming from? So see, it becomes a bigger deal when you can actually tell if there's something additional going on. We take our electrical panel covers off. This is actually, this is the main panel. So as we can see here, we have an issue going on here. This is why we love taking our panels off. You see the coating here is pulled back. This one's just fine. So once again, we get our infrared camera to find out what's going on here, and we see it's starting to overheat. We haven't turned anything on in the house, so I can imagine how overheated this becomes when you have the oven on, you have the dryer running, you have all your lights on. So you need an electrician to come out, do a load test, find out what's going on here. Because this is not if the house is going to catch fire, but when. Here we have a little stain. Once again, what did I say we should have? An infrared camera. There's a little stain. We have another stain here. So the house is painted. The stain showed up, but we always tend to find it. That's why we have our infrared camera. So once again, we're going to put down, there's active moisture at the stain noted. We had a 2-story house. The AC was working perfect. For some reason, when I got to the last room, I start to feel the heat. I start to sweat. It wasn't normal. Most people, most inspectors will put, yeah, this room is hotter than the other. You should check the air balance of the AC unit. I go a little more in depth because I guess there's something wrong with me. I have to go all the way. And bam, I get my infrared camera and you can see there's no insulation on the wall here. Reason the room is hot is you have, I think, 2 of the 3 walls are 92.7 degrees. So they're always defeating the AC or the cold air in there or the conditioned air. So back in the day when I did this inspection, it was about $7,000. The walls had to be cut open, insulation had to be put in there, and then the walls had to be refinished. Polybutylene pipes. The insurance company does not like this type of plumbing. As you can see here, it's a gray pipe. They'll have metal bands on them. So when you're at the house, make sure you go to the water heater, look at the valves underneath the sinks and the valves at the toilets. If you see any of this gray pipe, you have polybutylene pipes, and uh, it doesn't mean you can't get insurance. It just means it may be more costly and you're limited at which companies will insure you with this type of plumbing. Federal Pacific panels. So when you're at the property, I know we're asking a lot of you, not as a home inspector, but look at the panel. If it says Federal Pacific on it, I get a lot of people that say, well, how do I know? You read the label. It says Federal Pacific there. It'll say it down here on the label if they're present. If not, look for these type of breakers here that are red on the ends there. Uh, this company went out of business. There was a class action lawsuit. A lot of these breakers were defective, and what happened is they will not trip, and it tends to cause a fire in the home. So a lot of insurance companies do not like insuring uh, homes with these type of panels. All right, I went through here. Got a couple of videos that we put into our reports, like this one here. We had the water running. This one had a little crawl space. We could see the leak there. Uh, the good part is that when we put this in our report, they can't say that there wasn't a leak because you actually have video. Oh, that's why we like doing it. Here's one underneath a bathroom sink. So we're checking the plumbing and we take our video showing that it's leaking. So that way the seller knows that there's a leak and it needs to be repaired. Like I said before, they can't deny it wasn't leaking. These are a couple of infrared pictures. So this is what we do. This is our AC system or register on the ceiling or wall or even on the floor. And we know it's working because the temperature is 41.9 degrees. This is the faucet running. We take pictures of all the fixtures to make sure they all have hot water. We know the water heater is working and you have hot water. This looks like the kitchen sink. It's 117 degrees. We know our cooktop is working. I did not put one of the oven, but we also include one of the oven. You can see where they're all glowing, turning on, even the warmer section. This is our freezer. We take one of the freezer and one of the refrigerator. We see that the freezer is working. It's minus 2.6 degrees. That was the end of that part of the presentation. So be sure you check out those sample reports to see what these reports look like. Make sure they use an infrared camera because you can see in the pictures of how important it is to have an infrared camera and be used at the time of the inspection. Alrighty, so we're going to move on from here. Now we're going to go to home maintenance. So at this point, you purchase the home. Uh, when you try to call the landlord because something broke, you're answering the phone because you're the landlord. You're the homeowner. So touch on here. They got a little fancy with this one here. So we're going to touch on the basic uh, items, the important things. There's a lot of things to home maintenance, but we're going to touch on the big ones. One of the big ones is your HVAC system. For some reason, we neglect this, sort of like our cars. We neglect our spare tire if we have one. We never check it. And I know I don't because I went to Miami for New Year's this year. And on the way back, I got a flat tire. And guess what? My spare tire was also flat. So that was not a fun trip home. So it becomes costly when you have to tow it somewhere. If I had the spare tire, I could change the spare tire and go on my way. So AC system. It's one of the most expensive things in your home. So you want to maintain it. You want to do the basic uh, maintenance to it. If it's newer, we recommend that you get it checked once a year. And normally, I always say when you're going from winter to summer, because everybody loves their AC. So always do it from winter to summer. If it's an older unit, I recommend you do it twice. You do it, when the winter's coming in and when the summer's coming in. That way, you have heat or you have air conditioning. One of the shortcuts I see people take because they want to save money is filters. They go and buy these cheap filters here instead of this one here. This filter here, I think you can get three of them for like 12 to 20 bucks. This one here, just one, is about $15. You can buy them in bulk, they become cheaper. But the way you check your filter is put the filter up to your face. If you can see anything on the other side, that filter is not doing much of anything. So be sure that you get a good filter, one that's pleated like this, looks like cotton. And normally the minimum that I would put in my house is what they call a MERV 6 or a MERV 7. That's MERV. And then there's a number after it, 6 or 7. Either one of those is good. You don't want to go too high because you don't want to restrict the airflow. Um, So make sure, don't skip on the filters, and I'm going to show you why. Here's a good filter. Here's a cheap filter. So it took, I think they said it was about a year and a half. You see all this growth in here? You're inhaling this. And why? Because we saved money on the filter. To clean these coils back in the day before COVID, uh, it was $600. You could have spent that money on a good filter and maintaining the unit. Here, you maintenance the unit, they'll come spray it down real quick, get this little buildup over here off. Here, they got to cut the system out. They actually have to flush this. They have to take it outside. It's hard to clean. So please do not go cheap on your filters. That way you don't run into this issue and wind up spending more money. Uh, Now we'll move on to basic plumbing maintenance. Okay, we all have valves in our showers, in our tubs, our faucets and things. If you have water coming out of the valve, that's not a good thing, especially in the bathrooms. We can tell the valves here are in the wall. How do we know if it's leaking inside the wall? We don't because you can't see it. Right? So here's the maintenance part. You can get a plumber to come out and repair the valve. A lot of times these guys will have cartridges they can pull out and put a new one in. You don't have to redo the whole bathroom and take all the tiles and everything off. So if you do the maintenance, when something goes wrong, it's a lot cheaper than having to replace the whole valve. Uh, because it becomes costly. If you have to replace this valve and there's no access on the other wall, you have to actually break the tiles up to get inside that wall. And remember, this guy can be leaking inside the wall. So what else could we have going on there? Damage to the wood framing back there. You can have mold growth. So many things can happen. So do the maintenance, get it fixed right away the minute it starts to happen. Don't prolong it and cause more damage to the home. Look underneath the sinks. See, this one here is leaking. Luckily, I don't think they make these anymore. Nowadays, they're all composite and plastic, which is good. But these older ones used to rust, could be leaking here. Now, I point these guys out over here. There's a reason why I put these guys here. There's two ways that they do plumbing. One of them is compression fittings, which are these, and the other way is they glue them. They don't like gluing them because you have to cut them and break them. They like doing the compression fittings nowadays. The only issue I have with compression fittings is what do we put underneath our sinks? Pretty much everything. So you want to use caution when you're putting things underneath there. Because it happens in my house. I actually went out and got buckets to make sure everything's organized so I'm not hitting the pipes. A lot of times what used to happen is, you put so much stuff in there, the door doesn't close. So what do we do when the door doesn't close? We take it and we slam it a little harder. And if that doesn't work, a lot of times we'll bump it with our knee or kick it. And what do you think is stopping the door from closing? All the things that are leaning up against your drain lines and sometimes even water lines. You can snap a water line by putting pressure on it. So you want to make sure not to overload things underneath your sinks. Make sure they're not hitting uh, the pipes because these are very delicate. It's easy to break the seal, then you'll wind up getting a drain leak. You have this type of faucet, if it's leaking up here, it could be leaking underneath. I've had people tell me, oh, look, it's leaking here and it goes right into the sink. Yes, but did you check underneath? A lot of times they don't. Here we have a toilet. This is what's known as running on. That's what we put in our report. We put the pictures and the videos of it swirling around there. What happens is a lot of times the flapper's gone bad. People are using the blue Tidy Bowl uh, tablets or the Clorox tablets. What happens is the flapper's rubber, and what it does, it deteriorates the flapper. Over time, even the water does it. It'll become like a clamshell. It doesn't allow it to seal properly. Uh, and then your water will run on, and then you'll get a high water bill. Repairing that is about $15 to $30, replacing the hardware inside the tank. So that's one of the things that you probably want to do there. They say every 5 years you should change it. So be mindful of that. Check your toilets at least once a month to make sure you don't have a run-on toilet. Door maintenance, especially the outside doors, very important. Want to make sure that the doors that lead from the inside to outside seal properly. We have daylight there. To me, the most important one is the garage one. We see they added a pet door, so this door is no longer fire rated. So if you have an issue in the garage, it's gonna go right through here. You can see it doesn't seal here. What do we store in our garage? We have, I have a generator, we have our car, we have paint, chemicals, just about everything's in there. So what happens when that garage pressurizes and there's nowhere for anything to go? The gases are going to find a way to get into the home. So you want to make sure that these doors are sealed. The outer door, our AC is going out, heat's coming in, and what's coming in with the heat? We have dirt and bugs. So now we got to go buy some pest control chemicals to try to kill all the bugs coming in through the door. So make sure they seal properly. These are the exterior doors. So the garage door and exterior doors are heavier doors. You want to make sure all the hinges have screws in them. I get beat up on this when I put that on my report. The hinge is missing a screw. It's important. There's 4 holes there, should be 4 screws. We don't want the door to come loose or have any issues. The exterior. So normally I tell everyone on the outside, you want to check it mainly when we're going into hurricane season. That's the most important one. In hurricane season, what do we get? get a lot of high winds. Excuse me. We get a lot of rain. So if you have cracks on your stucco, you want to make sure you seal it. They have several products that you can use. You can use paintable caulking. They have a Quickcrete, I think, has a stucco repair, which is, I think, almost the same thing. It's almost like a caulking with sand in it to try to blend it in. You want to make sure it's sealed. If you have any kind of vinyl siding or other siding, if it's loose, you want to make sure it's secured so it doesn't blow off. Uh, it becomes costly when your siding blows off and you have an HOA and you go put new siding on there and they send you a letter that you have to paint it to match. You'll never really get it to match. You're going to have to paint the whole thing. But, that's one of the things of living in Florida with HOAs. They want the house to look nice. You have more cracks here. Want to make sure you seal this. My niece actually, I think, was Ian or Ivan, whichever was the last storm. Her house is not that old. It's only 6 years old. She had a couple of cracks here by the window, and because of the way the rain was hitting there, she actually had moisture and water come in. It actually wet the carpet in the whole corner on the inside. She actually had to lift the carpet up and let the area dry out. Had she sealed this, she would not have the moisture intrusion or the water intrusion that happened during a storm. If you have wood siding, growing vines on it is never a good idea. Vines introduce moisture onto the wood, and it will cause wood rot and cause moisture damage to the wood. So these are all maintenance things. This house here has new plumbing. They did a horrible job of drilling the holes, but at least you should seal it. So that way you don't have ants, bugs, lizards, and everything trying to get into the home here. So paintable caulking, once again, you seal here, seal here. Here's a little lizard. I should have moved the arrow up a little bit. There's the tail. So he's trying to get into the home, and they may just make it in. So you want to make sure you seal everything. Plus, remember, during hurricane season, what are we getting? Wind-driven rain. It can get in there and get into the home. Okay, windows. All windows have springs. If your springs are popped out of the window, my recommendation is that you get them fixed. Uh, Especially if you like opening the windows. Sometimes when you open the window, if the spring is out, the window will actually close or fall on its own. So imagine you forget that that window spring is not working. You got to open the window, you let it go, the window crashes and breaks. Uh, Now you got to replace the window, and hopefully you don't get hurt from the glass that breaks because you're standing right by it. So if the glass breaks, falls in, it can cut your leg, cut a foot, anything like that. It's almost like dropping a knife. If your foot's there, you can get stabbed. So you want to make sure that you service your windows so that if there's any loose springs, that you get them properly reconnected so that the window can stay open on its own and it functions the way it's supposed to. Sliding glass doors, cleaning the tracks. It's a lot of things to do. But if you do it all at the same time, you take one spring cleaning. You go through and clean all your stuff out. That way, a lot of the components are plastic, so you wear out the wheels. Sometimes on the older ones, you can't find the hardware for it, so now you got to replace the door or live with the fact that you need to pry bar to get out of your sliding glass door. We have these newer windows. It's a feature that they sell. So it has this side lock here at the top. So this window here, actually, you can open it, it drops out, and you can clean the outside part, and then you put it back in. So this is what we call a top side guide lock or latch. The issue I have with these is if both of them are broken, or even one, when you raise the window up, it can accidentally flip out and hit you. And if you get nervous and you back away from it, the window can go all the way down, hit the windowsill and break. So if these locks are broken, you want to make sure you get them fixed. It's little things, but it adds up if you let everything go. Here we have a house that has a tree over it. We can see the tree limbs there. You see how dull that is there compared to this one. That means all the pollen is falling on that roof and it's shortening the life. This is one of the things you want to look for when you're looking at the roof. On the other one, I showed you some damage, shingles that weren't properly installed, and then I said you look for lifted shingles. So you can see these guys are starting to lift up. The shingles don't look that bad, but they're lifting up. So they're either defective or there's something going on with this roof. So when you're looking at the house, make sure you look for this too when you're doing your little walkthrough. Here we go. Trees over the house. Never a good idea. Here we have all the debris sitting here. You can see these dark spots. This is the flat roof. So what happens is all these leaves fall on there. They get wet. They create weight on the roof. The roof gets a little depression. Now you'll have what's known as ponding water or water sitting on the roof. Water is going to try to get into the home, and sooner or later it'll find its way. So you want to make sure you don't have any trees over the house, no debris on the flat roofs. We have this one here on the right side. You want to trim it. I don't like having any trees over the house. It does give you good shade, but it also creates other issues. So you get one plus and one minus out of things. Uh, but some people like it. On this one here, the tree's overgrown. You can see the missing shingles and the wear that is caused here. So what's happening is these uh, tree limbs here, the branches are swaying back and forth and they're beating up the roof. They're taking the shingles off. So you want to make sure, maintenance, that you get those trees trimmed away from the roof. Plus, during hurricane season, it may blow these branches off onto the roof and create additional damage. Bushes up against the house is never a good thing. It's going to bring moisture to your fascia area. Ants, termites, squirrels can climb up there and try to get into the attic. So you want to trim all vegetation, bushes away from the home. Once a year, you should go up and check your uh, plumbing vent pipes. This is actually a lead boot that goes around it. For some reason, the squirrels love eating these things. I don't know why, but they do. But remember, there's a gap between here and here. This pipe runs inside the wall. You don't get to see that. So if it's raining during hurricane season, we have a lot of rain. If you get water running in between these two here, the water will be running down inside your wall. And you won't notice it till you get either mold or you'll see the stains and things like that. You're trying to figure out where it's at, and it's coming from here. Very simple repair, but that's considered maintenance. Okay, now we'll touch on electrical. Uh, I know once again it's a lot to remember, but I'm going to have this posted with a link so that way you'll be able to go over it again. Just remember it's limited on what can be done. There's so much more to do in a home as far as home maintenance. Uh, Here we go, electrical. So I'm touching on the big items, the safety issues, the things that will cost you money. So we have what's known as GFCI outlets and breakers. They should be tested at least once a month. Light switches, fans, things like that should be checked every once in a while. So we'll run on. This is what a GFCI outlet or GFCI breaker looks like. So that's the tester that we use. It actually has a button here. Reason I'm pushing the test button is to show that it will not trip. We see the two lights are still on there. So when it comes to outlets, you should test your GFCI outlets. Normally, you would have them in the garage, outside, kitchens, bathrooms, anywhere there's a sink, mainly wet areas. You want to make sure that the outlets are not loose. This includes all of them, that they have their covers, that they're not cracked, they're not overheated, they're not turning brown. They get that dark brown. It looks like they're overheating. Uh, So you want to make sure to take a look at them. If any of them have that problem, if it's missing an outlet cover, put a cover on it. If they're cracked, replace it. If they look like they're overheating, you want to replace it. Light switches. If the light switches are loose, make sure you secure them. You want to make sure they have a cover on there. If they're arcing and sparking when you turn them on, that means that they're worn out and you should replace them. That can become a safety issue. They can start to overheat. So, having these things done, it doesn't happen often, but if you stay on top of it, these maintenance issues will not cost you an arm and a leg. Alrighty, that was the end of this part of the presentation. Our information is there. Any information that you need is free. Feel free to contact us for any information. We'll be more than happy to help you through the process. Once again, my name is Luis Figueroa with A.C.F Home Inspections. Uh, so, good luck. Happy hunting. God bless. May you find the home that you desire. And if we can be of any service, please contact us.